fans. No, not top fans. I guess that's a new thing where they do top fans. Let me kill the do not disturb. Do not disturb. All right. Let's see. Chat guidelines. I'm so glad they got this now in the at the bottom. All messages. What's up, everybody? I'm trying to get back into this live thing and just talk to people more. You know, it's a crazy, crazy time. What's up, Sim City Big World Media? How you feeling, man? I'm doing good, man. I know it's been a while since I've been doing these lives. I can give a explanation of why I kind of backed up off the music content and just started posting more entertaining and content. But I want to talk about tech for a moment, since I am a cybersecurity teacher, professor, I should say. I've just been looking at the landscape. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. I've been looking at the landscape, man, and it's crazy, with the letting go of over 6,000 people, I believe, with Microsoft, Google letting go so many people, and now you have Amazon that has fired almost 20,000 workers, 10,000 to 20,000 workers. I'm like, all to usher in artificial intelligence, and people think it's just for. Let me move my hand off the speaker. People think it's just for. I'm live, huh? Uh, Hold on for a second, everyone. All right, doggy issues. I gotta take care of a dog issue, but I'll get back to it. How you doing, Violet? Yeah, and I'm looking at it like this. This is like the changing of the guard. When you had the Industrial Revolution, when everything became automatic in the factories, automated in the factories. It's crazy. We're seeing a new dawn of an age. It was funny. Myron Golden had talked about how, we're in like the educational information. We went from the information age to the education tutorial age, and he had said that we're at the end of that. He said that last year, that we're at the end of that, and now we're moving. Like where people was making monies off tutorials and things of that nature, and teaching and education. He said now we're moving into something else. But we're in this artificial intelligence thing, and it's really disrupting the economy. You got other things like politics and stuff that's going on, but I'm not into that. Even though I'm looking at an article here by Market Gains on YouTube, and it's talked about Amazon firing 20,000 workers, worldwide, and part of it is because they're ushering in the AI. You know, People once thought that programming is one of the areas of the fields that would never be able to be touched because humans do all the programming. But look, Microsoft got rid of a lot of its software developers and programmers because they say AI is doing it all. And I think you're right. Automated delivery, what's going to happen? But when I was in 2015, 2016, I was teaching a high school class here in Baltimore, Maryland. And it was like an introduction to technology course. And I would show them things about the trucking industry. And I would ask them if they wanted to get into trucking. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, but you don't realize that they've already have trucks that, autonomous trucks that drive themselves. And they would be like, nah, Mr. Helton. And then I would start showing them the videos of, I think Daimler had one, Audi had one, and this was in 2010 that they had this. But I was showing this to them from 2000 in 2015, 2016. Another thing is that people forget Watson beat Jeopardy champions back in 2012. You had I forgot the producer's name, something Kid, the EDM producer, and he produced music with AI. This was 2017, 2018, around that time, and I have maybe 2016, and this thing has been here, but it's making grave changes to our economy. A lot of people are getting laid off. College graduates are finding it hard to find jobs. It's always been hard to find a job, but now, where you got the automation process, where your resume has to go through a computer before it can actually be evaluated. And you got to have the right terms and terminology on your resume. And I used to show people how to craft a resume in order to get past that as well. But it's different now. So I'm thinking like this. This is me thinking, how will this affect educators when educators are trying to prepare people for certain career fields? And how can you prepare them for a career field if the career field is being phased out by AI? So we're in a real shift of our economy. We're in a real shift of our workforce, a real shift in jobs. They were even saying by 20, I want to get this right. I think they were saying by 2050, the jobs that we know now will be totally different because of the infusion of artificial intelligence. I remember taking my daughter to school, and we were in Philly, and I went into one of the McDonald's establishments, and I went to the counter. I'm of a certain age. I didn't want to deal with the kiosk. I went to the counter just to ask for a meal. I was getting stuff for my family, and then I guess the manager, he's like, did you try the kiosk? I was like, nah, I didn't try the kiosk. I just wanted, he said, I'll take your order. He said, but I just want to let you know, next year, he said, there won't be any cash registers or cashiers. He said, everything will be done through the kiosk. And I said, wow, that's the new way. So, and this kind of gears up for what they were saying in 2023 about a cashless system, and everything is going to be on certain cards. He said, so sad what happened with McDonald's. No, he helped me. He actually helped me. He said in Orlando, Sean Thrasher said in Orlando near Disney, you have to order at the kiosk. No, well, yeah. And I think they're just rolling it out. The guy was nice. He said, I'll take your order, but he said, I'm just letting you know in the future, there's not going to be a cash register here. And I said, what about the workers? He said, the workers will still be in the back. But, as far as, dealing with the, you know, cash register and things like that, you have to do everything via the app or through the kiosk. And I think a lot of things are getting ready to happen like that, which also makes me think about what about our senior citizen community, where they where basically, like, if they're going to do this, you know, he said, SimCity says lifeless food as no customer service. Absolutely. Good morning, Ron. Welcome to the live. Sean Thrasher says overseas AI flips the burgers and drops the fries. It's true. Sean Thrasher says no more Calvin. You're right. There's no more Calvin. Yeah. But it's a real change. I'm like, they really trying to take us to the Jetsons. It's like where the robots do everything or the other tasks. So it AI flips the burgers, definitely. So it's kind of putting us in a position like we're seeing such a revolutionary change take place on an economic, on a job front, and then how is this gonna affect society as well? Like, I'm watching these interviews and how these kids can't find jobs, or people that got fired from Amazon, they can't find jobs. And one lady said she said she was down. She was really down. She said, but what she decided to do is she's going to get into content creation. Some of the jobs want her to come in all 5 days. That she's put in 200 applications. She's talked with a number of different managers and teams, and she was like, either the vibe didn't feel right, or they wanted her to come in 5 days. So she's like, I'm going all in with content creation. And one lady was like, get your, do your door dashing and things like these. But do they not realize that not Amazon, but Uber has driverless cars? They have driverless cars. Not only that, so what if DoorDash decides to do that? He says people might feel unsure where to position themselves with AI moving. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. How do you position yourself? What skill sets are you going to need? It's some people that, my dog, somebody's walking through the neighborhood. What skill sets are you going to need in this new economy in order to, sustain yourselves? The big thing used to be programming. I'll become a programmer that's going to, make a better life for me or something like that. But now you're seeing that's getting ready to be phased out. They even talked about that. Programming was going to be the one sure job in technology that you were going to have, because somebody's going to have to program the AI. AI is programming itself. Then there was this law that just passed, and I'm not getting political. This law that just passed about immigrants and hiring immigrants and making sure you let a certain amount of people grow. But this went past immigrants. Amazon let go of a lot of people. A lot of people. They're saying, I have to verify it. I know it's 10,000, but this article said they let go of 20,000. And I'm like, that's crazy. Worldwide, 20,000. Microsoft, what is it, like anywhere between 10 to 15,000. Google let go a good 6 to 9,000. It's crazy, and a lot of it is software developers. So the AI has now gotten to the point where you know this brings up something I recently heard, that Chat GPT kind of went off the rails and tried to create. I think it was creating either its own language, or it started was talking to itself or something like that, and they had to get Chat GPT back on track. I'm like, this is the thing that people don't think about. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm just trying to talk about the possible alarm, or the possible, you know, how could, it makes me think about making money under the table, or what jobs are people going to have to avoid the AI, because tech was the career field that people could transition into and make a lot of money. Even Robert Smith, one of the wealthiest black men in America, said that he said this is the how you can bridge the economic gap. He said that this is the one career field where you have to put the least amount of equity into it to get a bigger equity out of it. But now, man, the landscape is changing. So this is affecting education. This is affecting careers. This is affecting, jobs in more ways than one. And my thought process is, if you AI everything, who's going to buy the stuff? Because people, they must have some AI money scheme tied to this. It's something bigger than what we think it is. Because if you get rid of the people that are purchasing the stuff, how are you going to make money? So I don't know what the end game is to this, but it is really something to pay attention about. It's affecting supply and demand. It's affecting the trucking industry. It's affecting jobs. It's affecting people are going to have to find ways to become entrepreneurs and create their own businesses. And I think that's one of the things. I was even talking to my daughter's driving instructor. I teach her most of the way. I could be a driving instructor myself, driving instructor. I'm that good. But anyway, I taught my wife, I taught my other daughter. She's mean on the road. And I'm teaching my one daughter now. And I was telling my youngest daughter, all girls, that you're next. And she was like, but I'm only 10. I was like, don't worry, you're gonna know. But our conversation was about higher education and what we're dealing with now, and how education is going to have to shift gears. You're gonna have to shift gears in medicine. You're gonna have to shift gears in economics. You're gonna have to shift gears in business. You have to shift gears in technology. You have to shift gears in mathematics and training and things of that nature. Because the whole goal of learning a good majority of these skill sets was so that we can get jobs and get into certain positions. But if those positions are going to be fulfilled or filled by AI, then what's going to be available? So, not to cause alarm with these types of thoughts or these sayings, but to just throw caution to the wind, care to the wind. What happens when you've been working for a company for years, and this is happening right now, for years, and then they tell you, we'll pay you $20,000 to leave the company, and then you'll get $300 for every year that you've been with the company. That's nothing. If you've been, I did the calculations, $300, 18 years, that's about what, $5,000 within that particular range. I'm like, that's pennies in the bucket. What about pension plans and things of that? Even though a pension plan is old news, you know what I mean? It's old news, and that's what Maryland state government offered their employees: 20,000 for a buyout and $300 every year you've been in the system. That's wild. That's wild. So I don't know what this is going to do. Even with now, some of us on here are music producers, but think about it. Spotify got bots on there. You got Spotify. They've been using this. Spotify has it where there are artists that are producing music that aren't real artists. So there's stuff that's going on. But this has been happening. I told y'all, I forgot the producer's name. He's an EDM producer, and he made music with Watson, IBM Watson, and they made a chart-topping hit. Some city. Oh, he said. L Cool J said tech companies are slowly becoming energy companies. Some of these jobs aren't coming back. It's true. So true. But then there's also the fluff jobs, because you have a jobs report and you have to report those how many jobs are being created to the government, and that gives you federal funding. So people are making fake jobs as well because they're still trying to get that same federal funding. Some city said, "What's the most important thing AI can do for us?" I believe medicine will be a blessing. Well, just to give you an update on that, Watson was with IBM's Watson was really got a footing at I don't know the school in North Carolina. It's a big university, a medical based university in North Carolina. And while they were there, Watson helped them to improve surgeries by 30%. And come on, man, this is 2018, 2017, really. This was 2017. Watson could read 1,000 articles, I believe, in a week. 1,000 articles or professional journals in a week. And that helped him to do medicine better. But here's the thing that we don't understand. What about customer service? We already have machine learning. And machine learning is all your data is being pulled into a database and a system, and that's being shared with other hospitals. Now artificial intelligence is getting into that. Who's going to control the data? What's the security with our personally identifiable information? That's the other part of it. Security, the dark web, people getting a hold of information. What's the leverage that the information is going to be used? It's a lot of things to consider. It's a lot of things to consider. Oh, what's up, Ty Black? But you're right. I do hope it. We're just talking about artificial intelligence, the changes that have taken place, what's going to happen in the future. You know, who knows? It may even drive the cost of goods and services up, which I think it's already doing. Especially, I was talking to us as music producers. You know what I mean? He said, the University of North Carolina School of Medicine. That's it. They have Watson, and Watson has been helping them to improve on their surgeries and things of that nature, because it can analyze. And I don't know if the thinking model has changed. The thinking model was based on probability. So the probability is, if I read these articles and I read this information and you ask me a question, it can analyze quickly like the human brain. So it's that oh, the artificial intelligence can't meet the human brain. It's been here, that it thinks fast. It just doesn't think like us, because we have perfection and imperfection. It only uses probability. So it's going to evaluate everything and then pick the most probable. And then once it chooses the most probable, that's the answer it's going to give. You got to go back and watch when Watson beats the Jeopardy champion. Ty Black says, as a former IT engineer and I was in college, we programmed in the 90s for the future. This life, of course, this will happen. Yeah, there's no going back. It's like inflation. Everybody be like, yeah, everything goes down. No, once it inflates up, the prices never go back down. I remember when gas was 99 cents. Now it's $3 and some change. It's not going to go back down below $2, you know. So I think this is what's the saying? Par for the course is what keeps coming up into my head. But when you think about economies, when you think about jobs, when you think about societies, when you think about what impact is this going to have on society, there's a group of people. Not everybody was meant for college, but I do believe that people are meant for trades. How would this affect trades? How would this affect like masonry? You're right. He said yesterday's price is not today's price. Effects of education. I will agree with programming now is copy and paste. And right, you don't. The thing about it is, I think this is the reason. First, all you had to do was learn how to code, and if you learned how to code, you could learn how to fix and correct code. But now you have something that once you train it, you don't need to go back. And plus, what people don't realize, AI is learning. All of us, even myself, using Chat GPT, using Claude, using Grammarly, using all of these. That's why I tell my students, you can't get over on me because I'm using it too. But I'm just not using it the way you are to write your papers. So the thing about it is, oh, Simon Sinek talked about this. He talked about the degradation of the human experience, the beauty in our imperfections. He said that gets lost with machines because they operate on perfection. You know, the calculations are right to the line. He said, so some things are different. You don't know what we're going to get out of that. He says, okay, was your daughter driving on a standard or automatic? That's the same time. She was driving on a standard, I'm sorry. You're talking about manual versus automatic. She was driving on an automatic. But I said that earlier. That goes back to the Industrial Revolution and the changes that have been taking place over time. He said, on perfection. Yes, I saw that. Yeah, yeah. So, and I love listening to Simon Sinek. His mind is just, man, it's amazing. So those are the things to consider. Even with music, they were talking about, so I forget who was talking about it. It was like the people forget that the subtle imperfections are the things that we like about music. You know, a miss, the snare drum being off at a certain point in the music, the ramping up of the music. Like if you listen to like 70s music and some 60s music, it'll start out at one pace, and next thing you know, it's ramped up. But that was the human element. Earth, Wind, and Fire did that a lot. They did that a lot. So you're right. The human variance, if everyone uses AI for the same purpose, um, I don't know. It's just a crazy thing to think about. I'm trying to keep the glare out of the. Maybe I need to just sit it down and just talk this way. But I feel like the glare of my window is killing it. Um, yeah, this is better. I'll go this way. But it's just something to really think about. He said it's been happening since MySpace. I'll take it back further than that. It's been really happening since the '60s and the '80s. It's just we had other distractions and we didn't have the internet. So since we didn't have the internet, we didn't pay as much attention. We watching sports and going to school and trying to go out and party and have fun and things of that nature. We weren't considering this. Is the tech took over. The pandemic did something. It created a need for a demand. And then after the pandemic was over, that demand wasn't needed anymore. But I don't think economies and jobs, they didn't know how to rebound from that. He says, you have a computer science degree, you will be fine. I was listening to what's my man Antoine Daniels. I like what he said. Antoine Daniels was talking about. He said, "We older than Google." Yeah, we are. we definitely are. Um, Antoine Daniels said he was a programmer and he got out because he foresaw what was coming. And I think tech jobs are safe. He said, but programming jobs aren't safe. He said, I feel like you need to go back, those of you that were in programming, and you need to find out some aspects of tech and cybersecurity. You know, um, there's always got to be. I can't even say that anymore. I was thinking someone that has to protect the network or analyze the network. But if you program AI to a degree, they'll be analyzing the network. It's just somebody has to monitor it. I don't know. Now, you want to know the crazy thing? You remember when everybody was like prompt engineer, learn how to be a prompt engineer. I just read an article or watched an expose on YouTube where they were saying that that job is about to be outdated. A prompt engineer. I'm like, this just opened up. This was just a new position, and now they're saying prompt engineers may have issues or problems. I'm like, I don't know, but what I gotta say is we definitely gotta keep ourselves aware, looking at how we can improve our skill sets. I still say, just like Ty Black said, I still believe you should learn programming. I still believe, especially you know, if you want to design or if you want to build, or if you want to be an independent builder or developer, I still think that is something that you need to get into. Oh, nah, I'll save that for a later time. But how can you find ways to circumvent? Oh man, shoot! I was born in the '70s, so '75 to be exact. So it's something to. Here's the crazy part: it's an amazing time because we never would think technology would do this. If you're well read, you knew, but at the same time, it's a crazy time. You should see all the YouTube videos I've been watching about kids graduating college and unable to find jobs, which if you've been living long enough, college don't get you no job anyway. Um, it has the potential to get you a job, but it doesn't. It's a system just like anything else where it hopes to strengthen our economy. But them student loans, that's where they get money out of the student loans and everybody investing and paying now crazy. You pay $300,000 for a basic education and you struggle to find a job because the field of study that you went into is don't make no money. It's crazy. LQJ says AI agents will take the place of prompts. Absolutely. Ty Black said, okay, jobs that will be lost in the driving industry and music is already lost. Already lost. Driving industry, delivery. Oh, yeah. What was it? UPS that let go all them workers? We sold beats in a day. Yes. For 500 to 15. Yeah. As an amateur. Producers sending out CDs tracked out. Fruit. You're right. You're right. AI does it all. You know, it is a money pit. And I see it. Here's I'm gonna give you a great example of the great veil producer grind. You would never know producer grind was going through the financial challenges it was going through. All you saw was them making videos and making money off the content. That another reason why I was like, TB, man. I'm like, you got it. You got the skill. You got to keep moving, TB. Do it. Do what you were doing before. You know what I mean? Um, and I feel like people are beating up on Timberland a little too much. I do think he made some stupid decisions, especially what he was doing. You realize he was he was he was putting that music in a database. I don't care what he was saying. Um, but trying to get ahead of the curve, he saw it in the beginning, and trying to get ahead of the curve is what he was doing. And I got a guy. He says everybody's using AI. He says some of the sample packs you buying is AI. He said I know a lot of producers and people in the industry that are using AI. He said so don't listen to this stuff. He's like Timbaland is one of the scapegoats, and I just think he makes bad cyber decisions, bad tech decisions. But I can't. Uh, Ty Black says trades will always be there, but they will not pay the same. A technician now are not the same in the 80s and 90s. Only thing it can't replace plumbing though. If you become a plumber, but then if that be the end job, then everybody's going to rush to be a plumber. And then next thing you know, that's going to weigh down. That's what happened in tech. Everybody, oh, the money's in tech. People left their engineering jobs. They left. I know because I trained some engineers. Because in engineering, they say everything's the same. There's nothing different. One girl said, one woman, let me say it that way. She said, I just became a gopher. And she said, I got into engineering to design. And she said, I became a gopher because it's the same designs. If you look city through city through city through city, the designs look the same. Same. Um, Ty Black says, don't know how I got here, but dope talk. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. L Cool J said TB quit producer grind and did his own channel right before the. Yeah, I know, but I hear him in interviews, and it's still on his mind. I'm like, yo, man, you got a skill and a sound, and you can get it done. That's why I love what was it Drummer Boy Sunny Digital. When Sunny Digital told him, he said, dude, he said, you got it. He said, I would invite you in the studio before anybody. So it's like, I'm like, man, go ahead and do your thing, bro. But yeah, man, this was a good talk. Thank y'all for chiming in. It was something that I just couldn't bypass watching this stuff, and I said, let me jump on and just have a conversation with people and see what their thoughts are about everything. But shout out to Ty Black. Shout out to SimCity, Big World Media. Y'all check out his music; it's dope. Shout out to L Cool J and anybody else that might have been on but didn't, you know, comment or anything like that. But just pay attention to the world and what's going on, and just stay alert. And everybody, y'all have a great one. Have a great Saturday morning. Peace.